Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the MHL coverage of the Selection Day down here at Franklin, Massachusetts at the MIAA headquarters. Mark Igo alongside Paul McNamara. Paul, welcome.
Well, it's great to be here, Mark. We've talked about this for a couple of years, and Richard Pearson from the MIAA has made this happen, and we are coming to you live. The selection meetings are being held probably 35 or 40 feet away from where we sit. We're kind of we're in the MHL closet here at the MIAA headquarters, but Jamie Staffslein has put all this together, and it's great to be here. And I got here a little bit. Nobody knows me to be late for anything.
Yeah,
but
no, yeah.
I got here a little bit after the coaches' meetings started, and some kind of surprising results of the coaches' meeting. And I know you were here, Mark. So the 1A meeting is being held right now as we speak, but the coaches meet before that, and a lot of what they say holds a lot of water in those decisions, and usually the committee follows what the coaches recommend. But let's talk about that.
Yeah, more often than not they do, and as Paul said, we did have the coaches meeting. The 1A meeting's going on right now down the hallway, so we will head down the hallway intermittently here to get an update. But just to give you the coaches update, no surprise here, Paul. BC High coming in at #1, pretty unanimous across the board.
Yeah, there was no question about BC High. Obviously, Coach Flaherty didn't know what he had coming into the year, but thought he had a good team. Didn't know he had the team that was going to be #1 come Selection Saturday, and they were undefeated, and no question about that selection.
Nah, and they steamrolled their way through the Falmouth tournament, which we've been covering a couple of years now. We hadn't seen anything like that in some time. So
no goals in 3 games.
No goals in 3 games, and just a strong performance. Coming in at #2 from the coaches was Malden Catholic. So Malden Catholic, a strong season. Obviously, MHL covering a lot of their games. So a lot of the folks out there got to see a lot of the Malden Catholic games. And on that note, just so everybody knows, all the archived games from this past season are now available to the general public, so you don't have to subscribe for those as of today. So if you missed any of the Malden Catholic games, you can certainly, or BC High, we had them probably half a dozen times anyway.
Yeah, a lot of Malden Catholic's been a strong supporter of MyHockeyLive over the first few seasons, and we wouldn't be here where we are. We wouldn't have had the season we had this year without the support of some of the Malden Catholic parents over the last couple of years, and this year the Malden Catholic Athletic Department lent their support as well. And I think we did 10 or 11 Malden Catholic games, right. So some of those did cover other teams we're going to talk about today, including BC High, St. John's Prep, Austin Prep, the Sereno tournament, another kind of every year we cover the Sereno tournament as well, around Christmas time for Malden, and that's helped us out as well, and we hope that's helped support high school hockey. But we've got a lot of time here, so we're getting into different tangents, but Malden Catholic nonetheless comes in at the #2 seed. I think some people questioned whether they would hold that spot. Over the last few weeks, they had a couple ups and downs. I mean, they lost to Pope Francis out there in a game that really Pope Francis able to take that game as their kind of keynote game and get up for it, and talked to some people that saw that who said Malden Catholic might have had the better of the play in that game, but Pope Francis got the victory. So some people question whether MC would hold that second spot. They did among the coaches. We'll see if that order does hold up in the committee meetings, but we get to 3 and 4.
Yeah, and 3, again, Pope Francis here coming in at #3, and
again, this is the coaches.
This is the coaches
right, meeting, and the
and
coaches' strong recommendation of the committee.
Strong recommendation. So and typically what we'll see, as Paul mentioned, the top 6 teams will make it into, will get a bye into the Super 8, and then of course the next 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10 will play on Monday night, which we'll be bringing to you live from Chelmsford Monday night. That'll be the 7 through 10. Which those 2 winners will go on to form the top 8, the Super 8, and then the 2 teams that lose actually get to drop back into their brackets, either one north or one south. So kind of just give you an understanding of how that all plays out. But traditionally, as Paul said, the coaches committee, usually their top 6 are pretty solid with what happens here in the room next door, and we will report momentarily once they get that going. They're just kicking it off now, so it'll take a little while to certainly, 1 and 2 probably will go quickly. Maybe even 1 through 4 might go quickly. But the order that the coaches had them in again was BC High, Malden Catholic, and then Pope Francis. And as you said, Paul.
Right, and maybe we're building up here. This isn't like unveiling of the Oscars or anything, but the top 10 according to the coaches, I think everybody had the top 4. One, everybody had consensus BC High, and then 2, 3, and 4, everybody's consensus were Malden Catholic, St. John's Prep, and Pope Francis, but nobody really knew the order. And the way the coaches came out, it was BC High at number 1, and then number 2 was MC, number 3, Pope Francis, and number 4, St. John's Prep, the defending Super 8 champ. So we feel strongly that those 4 will be the top 4 out of committee as well. And then 5 and 6, a lot of people talked about in the papers, in the rankings, came out Burlington, Austin Prep. Burlington number 5, Austin Prep number 6. And I think that was pretty much consensus as well over the last week or two, that those 2 teams deserve to be in the 5 and 6 spots. Some people question Austin Prep being 6. They didn't question them being in the top 10. But everybody thought Burlington would be a 5 or a 6. But really, the big talk among writers and among coaches has been, after that top 4, there's a little bit of a drop to 5 Burlington, and maybe Austin Prep at 5, 6, 6, 5. But then a lot of people made cases for belonging in the next 4 or being in the top 10 and getting into the play-in game. Over the last couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, as many as 8, 9, 10 teams made a case that they belong there. And the way the coaches came out 7 through 10, Mark, was?
Yeah, so at 7, Arlington finishing strong at the end of the season, knocking off Hingham and winning some big games down the stretch there. So Arlington was their number 7. Number 8 was Reading. We saw the Reading Rockets a couple of times towards the end. Had a first performance down at the Buddy Ferreira Classic.
Yeah, they had a good tournament
down there.
Good tournament down the Cape.
Good tournament down the Cape, and a strong finish for them. And then number 9 was Hingham. And Hingham, one of the toughest schedules in the state, right? Tony Messina, the head coach there, always doing a good job with his boys. But as we saw, they lost to Arlington, and we thought, well, that's it. And then they come back and they beat St. Mary's at St. Mary's pretty handily.
Another team that was mentioned.
Another team that was mentioned. And then number 10 was Winchester. In Winchester, 15, 5 and 1, a number 9 in our power rankings at MyHockeyLive. So, that number 10 of all of them was probably of the contentious, not necessarily contentious, but just the fact that Framingham, St. Mary's, Central Catholic were
Braintree
all
was mentioned.
Yeah.
Chelmsford won that league, I believe. Chelmsford or Andover won the Dual County Merrimack Valley Division I.
Right.
And even Franklin, who made the play-in last year and made the Super 8 as a result of a play-in win. Natick had a good year. I mean, a lot of cases could be made for a lot of teams, but primarily the first few you mentioned were kind of the eyebrow raisers that they weren't there or didn't come down to the wire there were Central and St. Mary's and Framingham and possibly Braintree.
Yeah. So really those 4 teams, Arlington, Reading, Hingham, and Winchester, would be deemed kind of like the bubble committee teams, right? So as they meet down the hallway here, that's the 4 teams that we'll definitely keep an eye on. As Paul said, the top 6 may not be that fluid. It probably will be, those 6, although anything can happen, but not likely.
And maybe we should explain now a lot of people watching know more about the insides and outsides than we do, but a lot of people are new to this possibly, and the potential for surprises always comes when they go that 20 feet down the hall from one room where the coaches meet to the other room where the committee meets. And the makeup of the committee is different. There are some coaches on it. It's chaired by Coach Dan Shine from Arlington Catholic. His team not a factor in the negotiations this year for Super 8, but Coach Shine chairs that committee. There are some administrators on the committee. There are some guys from the MIAA. There are some athletic directors, and there are some coaches.
Officials, too. Yeah, the officials.
And officials. Yep. And what they do is they go over the records, they go over strength of schedules, they go over where teams finished and how they finished as well down the stretch. You mentioned Arlington. Arlington 8-0-1 over their last 9. That makes a strong case for their involvement and their inclusion. But They also use the great Jim Clark, and we're going to speak with Jim Clark in a little while, but Jim Clark does more on this than anybody in terms of crunching the numbers and adjusting it to the RPI and the Cratch, and which the college rankings use, and does a great job in terms of who really belongs where. And Scott Barboza, his input is also taken by the committee, so they try to get as much information as they can, so that they make the best tournament possible.
Right, and they have independent observers also. So you've got like Bill Cullen, one of the North observers, who won't vote, but certainly had input into what they receive. So they receive the coaches' selections, which we just covered. Those 10. That's one sheet of criteria, and then there's the hockey committee, which that group met this morning as well, and they put together their top 10, and then they all come together and they vote up and down the line. We will sneak over there, as we said, down the hall momentarily, just so we can get an update on that, but lots to cover. Obviously the play-in games will be Monday night. We do want to talk about our new relationship here. MyHockeyLive has partnered with the National Federation of High School Sports TV Network. So a little bit different this year, where we will be doing the full production, so you're not going to lose Paul Mack and Jake Levin and Pat Serio and the rest of the gang. They'll be out there, and Jamie and Art and the crew, but you can access the games through MyHockeyLive just as you would during the regular season, and then once you click on the watch, it's going to bring you to our new page on the NFHS TV network, and from that network you'll be able to watch all of our games right through to the championship games at the Garden. So the NFHS TV network will be the official live streaming center for all games during the tournament, and of course our crew will be out there for everything up to really the championship games. And then something new this year, Paul, is on Championship Day, Sunday on the 20th. We will be at the Garden, set up like this, possibly with Jamie, eating breakfast, and because it's a long day, early
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and hopefully we'll have the fabulous Miss Brooke with us that day, so she can run around and take care of us. But she's, the Hingham girls, we'll talk about them in a little while, but that should be a great day on March 20th. Yeah,
that's a huge day. There are 6 championship games, and for some time now, the National Federation has owned the rights to that in a partnership with the MIAA. We have lent our support sort of as contractors, because we do follow the kids and the teams in Massachusetts through the whole season. So we hope we add value to that programming, and hopefully we'll be part of that again in kind of a carryover, whatever, to be determined. But we do know that we will have a studio type on-site show that whole day, bringing you. We can't show any live clips, that's all, or clips from that day. But we can certainly meet with some players following their games. Hopefully captains will bring the championship trophy in, and coaches will talk good, bad, and indifferent from the day. But it's all our attempt to get more personal with the kids playing hockey and the coaches coaching the kids in high school hockey in Massachusetts, and try to bring some more value and some more hands-on. Sort of like some of the older folks watching may remember Hockey Night in Boston. Those guys did a great job, and we're not them. We don't pretend to be Hockey Night in Boston. We pretend to be, we purport to be MyHockeyLive. We're not pretending, and we're not pretending to be ESPN or anything like that. It's high school hockey in Massachusetts, and we want to bring you closer and bring you live action, and certainly when we can be part of the, help you learn part of the news, the information that's breaking, such as today and such as Championship Sunday. We want to be there for you guys. So it's a group effort. We've had some great support from sponsors this year, and we'll talk about those guys as we move forward. We're awaiting our delivery of a couple of cases of Nantucket Nectars. Nantucket Nectars has been great this year in support of MyHockeyLive and high school hockey in Massachusetts, and we thank them very much. And if anyone's watching today, there are still opportunities to partner with us for the tournament, for a show like today, for the show on Championship Sunday. There's opportunities for sampling and for distribution, for getting new products out to hockey players and families. And we're kind of wide open across the spectrum. We've got a lot of opportunities here, and we hope we're bringing value. I keep saying that, but that's why we're here.
Right, and we do have exclusive rights to the tournament. This is our 9th year. We started with the fabulous print production side of things. The 2016 version of this beauty will go on press Monday.
Get your programs here.
Jake and June and the rest of the crew working, and Matt working hard back at the shop putting that together for 2016. But
yeah, and if you're up north at any of the North games, look for Mike McNamara.
Yeah, look for Mike McNamara hawking us programs. But you know, it's been a great relationship with the MIAA and first Bill Gain and now Richard Pearson taking over for Bill a couple of years ago here now, and they're heavily invested into the NFHS, as you said, Paul, and the TV network there, and we're happy to be a partner of theirs and a supporter of high school hockey and high school sports in general. So we're really excited about you know, this new opportunity working with the NFHS. I'm sure we'll learn a lot. They'll learn a lot. As you said, we know the tournament pretty well inside and out, and most of the coaches and most of the players, certainly working with Charlie Driscoll and the MSHCA and the Coaches Association and all of that. So it's kind of all coming together nicely, and everything's starting to align, and we do hope to have the sectional directors on here. Barry Haley, who runs the North, and as well as the Girls Division I, will join us. Scott Payne, who is filling in or taking over for Jim Gormley, and we had the Jim Gormley Cup earlier in the year, but Jim stepping down after many years of running the South. So Scott Payne from Norwell, the athletic director there, now coming on to take the South. Peter Glanville's been with the Central forever, so go way back with Peter. And Mike Smith, who took over for Bill Sapelli a few years back, running the West. And now Tim Albert's coming on year number 1, running the Girls Division II. Tim has already buttoned up his Girls Division II, and we'll have him on with us as well, and get into the seedings of the Girls Division II tournament and the like. And then, of course, as Paul mentioned, Jim Clark and Dan Shine and Paul Spear and Tony Messina and John Blake. So a host of coaches and writers and directors and administrators. Richard Pearson will join us, and we'll get to talk a little bit more about the new partnership with the MIAA and the Federation, and Don Boyle, who might be tuning in from the NFHS today, seeing the first live show as we positioned it here from Selection Saturday. Yes. So why don't
yeah, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take advantage of our flexibility, and Mark will take a walk down the hall and kind of check in and see what's going on. And I think I guess we're just going to have to figure out how to get our signals if we want Mark to chip in some commentary from down the hall.
Yeah, so I'll leave my mic on and try not to speak as I walk down the hallway and walk too swiftly, but Jamie's giving me the nod that that's going to be okay. So, and actually, I will turn off my mic as I walk down the hall so you guys don't get too much feedback. And then I'll turn it on when I get to the room, and I'll report directly from the Selection Saturday room down here at the MIA headquarters in Franklin, Massachusetts. So, Paul, it's all yours, and I will join you once I get down the end of the hallway here and can report in.
Sounds good, Mark. And so this will be the as we're waiting, sort of the pregnant pause here. We're sort of in filler time for the time being. We've set the stage for you, but we can't give you any heartbreaking news until we do get reports out of that committee room. And of course, Mark will be reporting from down the hall. Probably in about 30 seconds or a minute, and give us kind of an update of what's going on. And as this is
Speaking back in, I will text you when I get down the end of the hall.
Live programming, and that sounds good. This is all new, folks, so we're just trying to figure out. We just got I'm getting a report from somebody watching that. The live stream is offline now. Refresh in 20 seconds. Keeps recycling. So maybe we gotta check on that one. Geez, I've got it coming in live here. So maybe we'll do a live interview on the phone. trying to figure out. Just got a. I'm getting. Well, we appreciate the feedback, and we do want to know if the streaming is interrupted. We do have a good signal here. We've tested it on an iPad in the room, and we do seem to be streaming, and the streaming is coming through locally. So we're hoping our good friend Dana up in Wilmington will be able to make the connection and text me back, Dana, let me know that it's coming through. And when we get a text from Mark Igo down the hall, we will put Mark on and see what the latest is from the committee room of the 1A seating.
My golf voice here, guys.
Mark is going live, he says, so.
I'm bringing you the Selection Saturday show.
So, Jamie, I guess we just pipe Mark in.
So we still got a few rounds to go.
Can I
guys are getting old.
I can't.
Coach Fanicaro from Austin Prep here with me.
Thank you, John. 4 votes for Hingham being the 10th team in the top 10. That is
So we've got BC High, Pope Francis, Malden Catholic,
so these 10
St.
teams,
John's
you're going
Prep.
to slide these teams over. This will be the 10 teams we'd like the policy. We'll have to slide those over. We'll begin round 3. So those are your 10 teams that are...
Burlington, Austin Prep. So the top 6 kind of staying similar.
Central Catholic went into 7th.
Central Catholic is at number 7, Arlington number 8, Reading number 9, and Hingham number 10. So, Paul, that's going to be BC High, Pope Francis, Malden Catholic, St. John's Prep, Burlington, Austin Prep, Central Catholic, Arlington, Reading, and Hingham High School.
Process the same way. Thank you, everyone.
So, just wrapping up here from the room, so I'll be back into the studio here momentarily.
Order, of course. I already told you that. So we're going to begin again from the left with John Brown, and it's the same process. We don't go majority.
Well, we are back. I think we had a report from Mark Igo. Thanks for that, Mark. And we do have some reports coming in. Chris Dugan, great supporter of Zavarian. Chris Dugan. Pardon me, I don't have a cough button. Chris Dugan, good support, great supporter of Zavarian Hawks hockey, and we appreciate that feedback, Chris. So hopefully my friend Dana up in Wilmington is, maybe it's just Wilmington's got a bad signal. They're waiting for the D1 North seedings to come out and see where the Wilmington Wildcats are going to land in the breakdown. Again, folks, this is all new, so we're juggling some of the logistics, and we hope you bear with us. It's live programming. There's no nobody's going to pull a sponsorship, we hope. But segueing into that nicely, we want to thank sponsors that have been on board with us this year. MyHockeyLive, certainly a lot of the teams and the boosters and the backers. We just mentioned Zavarian. Zavarian was with us this year. Malden Catholic was with us this year. Woburn Hockey the other night. Burlington Hockey. The great folks down in Falmouth, Coach Paul Moore and the Buddy Ferreira Classic put on by Black Dog. We thank those guys as well for having us there. South Shore BMW and South Shore Mini, the folks from Mohawk Rubber Sales and their Worthwhile Life Foundation, the Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation, who's been with us this year. Nantucket Nectars, of course, we talk about all the time, our season-long corporate sponsors, Sullivan Tire and Auto Service, the book 16 by the author Dr. Peter Drennan, and of course SerialVideo.com, who's been with us for a number of years now. IBG, Integrated Benefits Group, big supporters of Austin Prep and Austin Prep Hockey, and Tony Maffeo will be happy to hear where Austin Prep ends up, I'm sure. And we'll talk about other sponsors as the show goes on as well. We're going to divert a little bit here and talk about, as Mark mentioned, the Division II girls lineup is set. We do not have first-round matchups laid out for you. nor do we have locations at this point. Usually, and if form holds up here, first round and second round games, and sometimes in the quarterfinal rounds, are played at the home rinks of the higher seeds. And we believe that the first round teams 5 through 16 will be hosting because there are 28 teams that have qualified for Division II girls playoff for tournament, postseason tournament. The rankings that we have, some of these
Central Catholic
may need to be,
at Chelmsford.
the actual matchups may need to be
Making my way back to the studio here, but that is your
We'll go back to Mark Igo right now.
Division 1A top 10 teams, with the play-ins again being Arlington, Hingham, Reading, and Central, to take place on Monday night. We'll get you those start times momentarily.
Well, thanks for that report, Mark. And as Mark comes back into the room, we'll get a live update here in person. So I'll be able to know what's going on because I can't hear Mark down the hall. So at any rate, we were talking about Division II girls and the top 4 who will get byes. Tewksbury-Methuen will be number 1 seed. Pembroke will be number 2. Wellesley, the Wellesley girls, will be number 3, and Medfield will be number 4. So Medfield may have to play a preliminary round game, but it looks like the top 3, Tewksbury-Methuen, Pembroke, and Wellesley, will get byes in the first round because 28 teams have qualified. But let's go to Mark Igo right now, and what news can you bring from down the hall, Mark?
It was interesting. They parted the seas, Paul, for me to walk in, so it was kind of nice. But
great.
But exciting time for high school hockey in the state, and get some nice text messages as well. Dan Daly, one of our favorites over at Hanover, one of the assistant coaches, texting in, "I'm watching now. This is great for high school hockey. Thanks for all that you do," and thanks to coaches like Dan Daly and all those that are tuning in today to watch this, and of course to Richard Pearson. And,
Hanover, by the way, my D3 South pick.
Yeah, that's right. So as we came on with the coaches' selections, not a whole lot changed there. Number 1 is BC High. Number 2 is Pope Francis, so a little swap there.
Wow,
Pope
that's
Francis being
surprising.
2 and MC being 3. St. John's Prep being number 4. Burlington 5 and AP Austin Prep 6. And Coach Finicaro helping me inside the room as well, giving me a little play-by-play in my left ear so I could make sure that I had this right. And then on the bottom 4, the 7 through 10, these teams will face off on Monday night. Arlington came in at 7, which is what we had with the coaches. Reading came in at 8, which is what we had with the coaches. Central Catholic came in at 9, and then Hingham 10. Those 7, 8, 9, and 10 are seeded by winning percentage. So that's not, they're voted in, but then the bottom 4 are seeded by winning percentage. So Arlington will play Hingham in a rematch, and then Reading will play Central Catholic.
Wow.
So, you can't ask for better matchups than that, Paul, on Monday night from Chelmsford, where you will be calling the games.
Wow, that's exciting. I mean, those are 2 very good games. Arlington and Hingham, as Mark said, a rematch of a game played just last Sunday at Matthews Arena, which was a great game, a 2-1 final. And they get to face off 8 days later on another neutral site. So, Arlington will pack the place.
Right.
The town of Arlington will vacate the premises and move up the road to Chelmsford for that game to host Hingham. And it's too bad Hingham is a little bit far away geographically. It'd be great to see the Harbormen town come up en masse as well. But 2 veteran coaches there. Tony Messina from Hingham and John Missouri from Arlington. That'll be a terrific matchup of 2 good hockey minds, and those 2 teams will play 45 minutes and maybe more
right.
To the finish there to be able to move into the Super 8. And what a great matchup.
Just a terrific matchup, and as you said, Coach Missouri, Coach Messina, been there, right? And Hingham having won the D1 championship last year, not getting into the playing games last year, so maybe a little vindication there for Tony. But we'll see what they do, and so folks know. So the loser of that game will go back to their respective brackets and be reseeded by winning percentage. So will be the top seed.
Yeah, they regardless of their winning percentage,
right,
they'll be
the top seed.
They'll be the number 1 seed. So
Right.
potentially Arlington and Hingham back in to the D1 North, the D1 South tournament, and likewise the 8-9 matchup in the play-in, Reading High School and Central Catholic. This is one of the two places that the committee varied the rubber stamp of the coach's recommendation here, where Central Catholic makes the play-in round and Winchester does not. So, you know, a little bit of a letdown for the Middlesex League. That being said, they've got 3 teams in the 10, so a great year for Middlesex League hockey. But let's talk about Central Catholic. There was some controversy here because one of their players, their best player by consensus,
One of the best players in the state for them.
was away from the team for 2 or 3 games, or I guess a week and a half or 2 weeks. I don't know the exact breakdown, but he missed 2 or 3 or 4 games, and that hurt on paper anyway. Their results in those matchups. So he's back. The team is at full strength. So you know, they make the play-in round according to the committee. So they will square off against Reading.
Yeah, they'll score off against Reading, and I think we're getting some feedback from the computer over there. But you know, the player that had left obviously went to play for Team USA. So you know, and that's the kind of talent we're talking about. So Reading and Central will square off. 2, you know, solid teams, well coached. We know Coach Doherty actually had to leave the building a little bit early to go to work, so hopefully he's tuning in and learning that he will be playing Central Catholic on Monday night.
Yeah, Coach Doherty, it's not Hingham. Matching up with it, Central Catholic.
Right, it's Central, and you know, but you know, again, all 4 of those teams obviously deserving of being there, and should be a great Super 8 tournament as always. There is, you know, in regards to sites, you know, it's a little bit fluid right now. Typically it would have been played at Songus, home of the Lowell Riverhawks, who were defeated by BC last night, and BU went on to defeat Notre Dame last night, so that means the Riverhawks are going to have a home game in the Hockey East tournament next Saturday and Sunday, which is where those opening rounds for Division 1A would have taken place. So we're going to have Barry Haley on with us, who is responsible for that, and I'm sure you know, has a plan B and probably a plan C for that matter. So he'll join us and help us sort that out, and then we'll get you the start times too. Traditionally, what they would do is the team that travels the furthest would typically play first, but then you get basketball and all sorts of other things that could be conflicts. So you know, for all intents and purposes, it might be Arlington versus Hingham in the early game, and then Reading Central in the second game. But that'll all shake out. So again, we'll have Barry Haley on here, and Dan Shine is going to join us as well to talk a little bit about that. But yeah, so really, you know, the takeaway, Paul, like you said, Winchester for Central Catholic, you know, both teams, and St. Mary's for that matter too, were certainly under consideration by the coaches and then by this committee. So Central getting in there, and you know, we'll see how they do. You know, we'll see how they match up.
Yeah, and I think of note at this point, we can look at first-round matchups, and certainly the ones that are set will be Malden Catholic and Austin Prep squaring off in the 2 out of 3, and St. John's Prep and Burlington in a 2 out of 3. And those are 2 pretty interesting matchups, mini-series. MC and Austin Prep we saw right around Christmas time at the Sereno tournament, and MC handled Austin Prep pretty well at that point, but that was 8 weeks ago, and things change. Coach Lou Finicaro from Austin Prep would like nothing better than to knock off the Lancers and move forward and set up a date with potentially Pope Francis or whomever Pope Francis plays, but Pope Francis will get the winner of Arlington and Hingham. So I'll tell you, it's a pretty even tournament this year from top to bottom, where teams have an opportunity to knock off other teams. BC High notwithstanding, BC High will have to face off against either Reading or Central, and certainly great coaches there, all 3 teams, and so you get into the potential for upsets on paper, where BC High is the consensus #1 team. But you know, Coach Flaherty will have his work cut out to get that record, that L number 0 in 3 weeks where it is now.
Yeah, and it's never an easy road. I mean, you know, Malden Catholic had a nice run there for 4 years, I think it was, right? And then, as you said, St. John's Prep knocking off Malden Catholic last year, and St. John's Prep now will have to go up against Burlington, who might be the hottest team coming in, right? I mean, we've seen Burlington the last couple of weeks, and you know, they're just Coach Concession's got his boys playing very well, disciplined hockey for the most part, and so that matchup there is very interesting. You know, St. John's Prep, the defending champions, and you know, just you know, very strong start for them, and then you know, tailed off a little bit, like any good team will hit a speed bump here and there.
You know, people look at St. John's Prep record. You know, I'd contend that they might belong in the 2 or 3 spot with the goaltender they have. They don't score a lot of goals. They win a lot of games close to the vest. But a lot of teams have won state tournaments playing that way, and certainly they've got a tremendous goaltender who backstopped them to the title last year, and Kyle Martin, and he's back. He did not play against BC High, one of their 2 losses. They tied BC High earlier in the year and won it in overtime in a tournament situation. So you know, and their only other loss was a 1-0 loss to Malden Catholic. Right. So, and they have a tie against Malden Catholic, and they beat Pope Francis. So you know, if you're St. John's Prep and you say, wow, we're number 4, you know, we tied MC and lost by a goal. We beat Pope Francis, and you know, we tied BC High and lost without arguably our best player. Geez, we deserve better than being number 4. So, you know, I think every coach and every team has something to go into the tournament with. Frankly, I'd be, you know, on the record, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk to Coach Foley from Pope Francis, but I think they're the beneficiaries of some serendipity here, because they didn't have the year they had last year by any means when they were consensus number 1, and they lost a lot of players. They still have, you know, with all due respect to everybody else in the state, I think Riley Pratzen's as good a player as there is in the state, number 5. And if you haven't seen Pope Francis, folks, you'll get a treat watching these guys play, because Pratzen is just, he's only a junior, and he's committed to Providence, and he's years beyond his age in terms of hockey IQ. He just makes some great plays out there, and he's very fun to watch. But, you know, I just think Pope Francis, I had them at number 4 coming in, no disrespect, but, you know, just I think body of work, I think they got a huge boost with their victory over Malden Catholic last week. And, you know, sometimes a lot is put into one game. I think St. John's Prep was kind of pushed down a bit by their tie with Braintree. Braintree's no slouch, and Braintree played a terrific game. They're very well coached, Coach Dave Fasano, and they play a good defensive style. They've got big kids, they've got a big goaltender, and they played a strong game against St. John's. One game, I think sometimes too much emphasis is put on one game in terms of up the scale or down the scale, and it's just my opinion, folks. And certainly everybody's there, and everybody's got a chance to win it and prove, you know, where they are is wrong. But when it comes down to it, if you make the top 6, you got as good a shot as anybody getting in there. If you make the top 10, you got a great shot. So,
and even if you look at the rankings for MyHockeyLive, our power rankings, and you go up and down there, and you've got BC High number 1, and then to your point, Malden Catholic number 2. Again, we're splitting almost percentage points with RPI, but St. John's Prep number 3, Burlington number 4, and then Pope Francis number 5. So
yeah, look at our percentages from 2 to 5.
Yeah, so 2 to 5, you've got 636 to 622. So, you know, put them in a hat.
Of 20 games, I mean.
Yeah, and you could look at, you know, I mean, you know, maybe Malden Catholic will look at it as, hey, you know what, we got snubbed a little bit here, you know, and give Coach McLean a little extra edge. Not that they need it, right? They're a very strong team anyway, but and a strong goaltender. We're going to see a lot of, you know, I mean, these teams. You know, you don't go 17-0, 15-3, 14-2, 17-1 without a good backstop, right? So you're going to see some good goaltending in the tournament, and some great coaching. I mean, just go up and down the teams here that we're looking at, and you know, just solid coaches. The Reading goaltender, we saw him down in Falmouth. He made the all Buddy Ferreira team down there, and you know, really stood on his head. And of course, as you said, you know, BC High didn't give up a goal in the tournament down there. So you know, we're going to see the best of the best.
Yeah, you get guys like Payson from BC High. You got Malden Catholic with the dual Kanata and Casey. You got, we mentioned Kyle Martin from St. John's Prep. The goaltender Nick Howard from Burlington. My
Right,
goodness.
right.
He made stops the other night against Woburn. By the way, we haven't even mentioned Woburn, who was a team that was a bubble team as well. And, you know, they gave Burlington everything they could handle. Burlington won it 5-3 with an open net goal. The committee can't take that game into consideration, quote unquote. It's like going into court and, you know,
Disregard that.
Yeah, the jury will disregard that. I mean, they were on the ice, and Woburn is a very good hockey team. They'd be a dark horse in Division I North. But Burlington's goaltender Howard, phenomenal. Reading's goaltender Dinan, you mentioned. I mean, these Coach Jack Parker, the great BU coach, once called this game goalie. He said, "Why do we call this hockey anymore? It's goalie." And certainly those teams with their backstop, their big guy between the pipes. Nobody's ever heard me say that before. A guy between the pipes. You know, it makes Coach Parker's case, and every coach with every one of those goaltenders is very happy to have that guy.
Yeah, and you look at, you know, so as you said, you know, you look at the D1 North and the D1 South, and I'm sure those teams are going to be watching the games on Monday night too, saying, all right, is Hingham coming back to the D1 South yet again after they won the championship last year, and as the 1 seed here, and that could shake that up, and then you're going to get 1 or 2 teams back into a cluttered D2 North. I mean, D1 North, where, you know, you've already mentioned half the field, you know, that were under consideration, and they're going to get either an Arlington, a Reading, or a Central, or, you know, 2 of the 3 possibly back into the D1 North, and you've already got St. Mary's, and we didn't even mention Arlington Catholic, who made it to the finals last year. That's
Winchester and Woburn.
Winchester, Woburn. I mean, you know, you go up and down, you know,
Chelmsford. Chelmsford made a run. We saw them against Burlington in the finals of the Ed Cahoon Memorial Tournament, and Chelmsford's got some great hockey players, a veteran team, a lot of seniors on that team, and they can beat anybody in that field as well. I mean, the D1 North, and I remember last year the D1 South tournament was terrific. Out of the 15 or 16 teams, we kind of looked at it and said 8 or 9 are viable teams that could win this thing. And again, if you know, don't count Hingham in there, because Hingham and Arlington are going to go. That might be one of the best playing games we've had in a long time.
Even the Reading Central will be a beauty. I mean, those are great games.
You know, we had 2
matchups.
good games last year. That Franklin-Zavarian game that went to overtime. Terrific game. And then Burlington and Woburn, another the battle for Win Street last year. But the play-in night is traditionally one of the best nights. A lot of the other coaches show up, and a lot of the other players on the other teams that aren't playing that. There's only 2 games in the whole state that night, I believe, unless they've started some of the other preliminary rounds. Certainly Division I North and South aren't even set, so they don't start till later in the week. But it's a great night and great matchups. But the D1 South tournament, just to finish my long-winded point here, Mark, is that last year's D1 South tournament, unbelievable. This year, you know, we mentioned the D1 North. How about the D1 South teams? You know, Zavarian. Everybody kind of looks past Zavarian because of their record. Play a tough schedule. You know, they're athletic. They know how to play hockey, and they're going to be tough. Braintree, Framingham. You get teams like Natick. Franklin is back in the mix again after last year. They lost a lot of seniors, but you know, very well coached and play a great schedule. They get down to Rhode Island. They play a lot of teams to get ready for this time of year.
And you've got Walpole and Marshfield, and I saw Danny Conley's team,
Marshfield and Duxbury too.
And
great.
I saw Coach Spear. He'll probably join us here shortly from Framingham, and you know, he said, I hope Hingham wins.
Yeah, right. It opens up the field a little bit. Yeah. You get 12 or 13 South coaches, really Hingham fans Monday night.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of extra Hingham fans come Monday night, but so much to cover, you know, and again, big shout out to Pat Serio, who's getting ready to go behind his own camera here at 1 o'clock. But Pat will be there with us Monday night, and Serio Video, you know, a big part of all that we do here with MyHockeyLive, and I'm sure Pat will probably be there about noontime on Monday, setting up and getting ready to bring those games live. And again, we have partnered with the NFHS TV network this year, so you can still access the game through MyHockeyLive. Go right to the watch page, and that's going to direct you to our page on the NFHS TV network. Say that fast a few times, but you'll be able to get all the games there. There'll be packages there where you can get the entire tournament or a per game fee.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure. I mean, MyHockeyLive all year is a pay-per-view service. We've tried to make it very economical in terms of packaging it for the season. You know, somebody may look at a game and say $7 a game or $7 a day, that's a lot, but the point is, with the number of games we've been able to present and the packages we've put together, it's very affordable rates for the value, again, the value that you're getting. You don't have to drive through bad weather potentially a month from now. I mean, I'm going back, if you buy this at the beginning of the year, and you know, you can see a South game, you can see a game that you're at a game, you can watch a game on your phone from somewhere else on MyHockeyLive. So similarly, our partnership going forward for the rest of this month, between now and March 20th, that's 20, 21, 22, 23 days, is that right? Whatever.
Just over 3 weeks.
Yeah, over 3 weeks. I mean, the number of games is infinitesimal. It's really not, but it'll seem that way.
Right.
And, you know, we're not going to be at every single game at every rink, but any night there's tournament activity, we'll be out there covering those games. And for one monthly price, you can see everything, including the big Sunday game. All the Super 8 games and all 6 championship games from the Garden on Sunday, March 20th. So we think it's a very affordable package for everybody, and the MIAA has made the decision to go in this direction. They did 3 or 4 years ago, and we totally agree with their decision, and we're able to support them the way we like to because of what we do all season long.
Yeah, very, very much happy to be a part of it, and no different than the regular season. If you want us to come out and do your state tournament game, then just contact us at info@myhockeylive.com. Again, info@myhockeylive.com. That will get our team plugged in with your coaches or your boosters or whatever and get us out to the rink where you're playing. Last year, obviously, we have 2 crews. We've added 1 now, so we've got the capability of covering 3 games any given night. We're looking forward to seeing our pal John Hickey down at the Gallo Ice Arena, because we can kind of set up shop for most of the South tournament, D1, 2, 3 South. All the girls' games are also, once they get to their semis, are pretty much played over there as well. So it just works out great. It's a nice setup. John does a wonderful job down there at Gallo Ice Arena. And then, of course, on the North Shore, a lot of games at Woburn. So we were at Woburn the other night, and we'll be back out there. We'll be at Chelmsford.
Where we will have full internet capability.
Yeah, we will be plugging in fully.
We had a little bit of a problem. Anyone who watched the
Burlington-Woburn game, yeah, we were at the mercy of the Wi-Fi that night because we couldn't plug directly in, and had to scramble a little bit. But, you know, it was a great finish, Paul. I watched it. I was at home down in Plymouth, Massachusetts, watching that, and enjoyed it. But yeah, it was, you know, it gets a little challenging when you got to rely on Wi-Fi and rinks like that. But you know, again, we'll work all that stuff out, and certainly having the partnership with the MIAA and the NFHS is only going to help us a little bit. So why don't we transition a little bit over here too, because we've got, I guess you covered the girls D2.
We started into it. We didn't read down the whole list, but you know, we didn't foresee that, you know, there should be, you know, we could maybe a highlight reel. We could take a break here and while we get logistically set up. But certainly there's 2 of us, so
yeah. Why don't we take a break? Let's do that, and we're going to go get our sectional directors and try to line up some of the guests that are coming on. So we're going to have Jamie kind of cut it over to some sort of screen where you don't have to look at us any longer, and we'll come back with you momentarily once we get all of our guests in check, and we can get back online and start talking about some of the upcoming Division 1, 2, and 3.
Folks, spread the word today. We'll be here till about 1 o'clock, we believe, giving you all the information we need, you need to set up your next 3 weeks of hockey watching, both in person and here at myhockeylive.com. And spread the word that we're on today, and we'll have as much information as we can out to you today live from the MIAA headquarters here in Franklin.
Yeah, great point. All the brackets will be up on MyHockeyLive.com probably sometime tomorrow. You can also go to MIAA.net and click on their ice hockey icon, which will lead you to their brackets, which are fed directly back to MyHockeyLive as well. So MyHockeyLive will have the same information, all the schedules, and then, of course, all of the games that we will be live streaming will also be on the MyHockeyLive homepage, where you found it all season. But just to give you an update there, they'll be posted as soon as we start getting them in. And again, if you want us to come out and live stream your game, info@myhockeylive.com will get to us, and we'll coordinate our team coming out to live stream your tournament game. So we'll be back with you.
And that's all divisions too.
All divisions.
Like Marblehead, that's a big hockey town, undefeated, #1 ranked team in Division II North. We'd love to cover the Marblehead Headers as they head down there, quest for the Garden. Coach Bob Jackson's done a terrific job up there with the Headers, and they've got a couple of very interesting hockey players that would be fun to watch, and we'd love to do some Marblehead games too. And it doesn't take a lot, just 1 or 2 local merchants, and we'll put Marblehead on the schedule and make it a priority. So
yeah, Neshoba Chieftains looking to run, make a second championship in their belts over in the Division 3A as they come in as our #2 ranked team at 18-2-0, and you know, certainly you know, we had just some terrific games on the women's side of things. The girl, you know, Falmouth having won the championship in overtime over Wellesley last year. We did a couple of Wellesley games leading up to that.
Back there again. So.
Yeah, they're back there again, and you know, Tewksbury, Methuen, what a year they've had from the girls' side. So we'll come back and recap all of this. But again, as Paul, you know, making Paul's point, it doesn't matter, you know, what team, wherever, you know, as long as the rink has internet capabilities, our crew will be there. So you just got to reach out to us at info@myhockeylive.com.
So we're gonna grab a Nantucket Nectars and a couple of coaches. Maybe Jim Clark's available, but we'll be back with you shortly. We're coming to you live from the MIAA Selection Saturday show here in Franklin.